Welcome to the Awakening to Purpose podcast. I am your host, Lou Redmond, and today we have guest Jamie Wozny. Jamie is a modern day seer of divine loving truth through the spirit of lightness and play. She serves to awaken light workers, divinely gifted souls, and healers to freely express their soul's authentic truth in the world, which allows for a greater experience of life. I believe that. She works with a wide variety of private clients, celebrity clients, as well as servicing large groups and private corporate clients like NBC, Hulu, and Sony PlayStation. She leads retreats worldwide and has a popular self-love course with thousands of happy students on Insight Timer. She has been invited to speak on a variety of health and wellness podcasts, including Loved, Magic Vibes by Kelsey Patel, The Alyssa Goodman Show. She was honored to be interviewed for her expertise by actress Ashley Tisdale. And today she finds herself here on the Awakening to Purpose podcast. So welcome, Jamie.
Woo! Glad to be here, Lou.
Yeah. So I want to start with a Instagram post that I think you posted only yesterday. And I
Cool.
love the essence that it's getting at. I don't think everyone quite grasp it, but I understood exactly what you were getting at. And so for those that obviously aren't on Jamie's Instagram right now, it says, "My joy is my cover letter. My peace is my resume." And this speaks to so much of what I think is crucial of what a teacher, coach, healer, guide, that their embodiment of what they're offering or how they're living is so much more impactful than some piece of paper or credential that someone might receive. Those are important. Go do those things. But
Right.
I'd be curious to hear from you, Jamie, if you want to elaborate on that, and also to talk more about what makes someone qualified or maybe even ready to be a guiding light in this world.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked that post. I did too. I was like,
It's
damn,
great.
that's good. That came from me. Cool. Yeah, I woke up and it popped into my head. And I was like, okay, I want to share that. There's so much I want to speak to with what you just said. I grew up, which many of us do, in the do, wounded masculine paradigm, accomplishment. But I was a very feminine essence being. And I think all of us hold that quality, right? Where our joy, our love, our compassion, our authenticity, our feelings, whatever it might be, isn't respected, isn't seen. And so for me, my journey has been, and what I like to share with my crew is that your being is enough. And that is the change maker. I remember years ago, I was in a coaching session. It's probably like 5 or 6 years ago with my own coach. And he said, I was like laundry listing all these things I wanted to do. What am I supposed to do with my life? Be a, psychic medium and a meditation teacher and all of these things. And he was like, it sounds to me like you're looking to see where you'd make the most impact. And he was like, what do you think is your impact, Jamie? I was like, I don't know at the time. And then he said, it's your being, sweet one. It's your being that is the impact. We all have different storefronts. Sometimes we're a teacher or a clerk or an accountant or a meditation teacher, whatever we are. It's the internal embodiment of that energy that is the change maker. And there's quantum physics now and science out to show that our energy is what serves people. And, on a practical level, maybe it's the fact that it's a permission giver, right? Like if I'm coming in with my peace or I'm coming in with my joy and that other person was traumatized and told their peace wasn't allowed, their joy wasn't allowed. We have these very scientific things called mirror neurons. So the other person can relax into that and say, this is okay. So I could talk to you about peace all day or joy or freedom or authenticity, but until you feel it, right? That's what I mean by You know, my joy is my cover letter, or I don't know which way I said it. My piece is my resume. But yeah.
I love that. It goes a little even deeper than in the essence of how I took it. I think I love the idea of the storefronts that we hold up, and we might put, have multiple storefronts, but it comes back to who we are being. It's like that classic quote of people remember how you made them feel rather than what you say. And so
Yeah.
what would you say? Maybe I missed it in there. If someone's struggling with that idea, and we all do continually, maybe
Sure.
at different levels of like enoughness and being
Sure.
enough, and am I ready? Am I qualified? Can I do whatever their work is? Like, how do you approach it? And maybe it's just reflecting that back like your coach did.
Yeah. Are you asking what qualifies one to
Yes.
be what's the word you used before? Teacher?
A teacher, guide,
Whatever it
coach,
is. They're
sharing
okay.
their light
Right.
in some way, sharing their gifts in some way.
Well, your passion, right? I think that qualifies you enough to want to do something. Um, and your energy, your embodiment of it, your direct human experience of I've touched this thing, I've experienced it myself, and then I will guide, share, serve you to illuminate the path for you to step into this as well. Now, I do believe this is where masculine structure comes in wonderfully well. If we're guided to take a course or a training or whatever certification from that lightness, right? We can do that. But if it's really important, in my opinion, to look at the source of the drive to do something. Is it coming from love? Is it coming from fear? Meaning, do I think I should do this thing? There's the accomplishment side. Do I think I should do this thing to be seen as enough, to be professional, to be whatever it is? Or am I just guided to get a Reiki master? I'm giving my own examples, Reiki master certification over 4 years or whatever it might be. So I'm totally unapologetic in sharing this. I have never been certified as a meditation teacher. Life certified me. I got asked to sub a class for $25 a class years ago. And I'd never taught meditation. I did all these other healing modalities because joy brought me there. And then I got some trainings. I got certified as a life coach and a Reiki master and all these other things. And I loved it. I loved it. And I was sitting on the stage, and I was messy and I was imperfect and I didn't know what I was doing. But I realized that when I tuned into the energy, and I'm sure you feel this way too, to the group, I could feel what was needed to come through my channel for the group. So it wasn't a specific type of meditation. I was a channel to love, and I could feel what was needed in that moment in the group. So subbing turned into like everyone, I became the resident sub. So then everyone like asked me to sub. And then I was subbing so much, all the people in the meditation studio were like, can she have an actual class? We love Jamie. So then I got a class. So then my class got popular. So then so anyway, it just turned into, and people would be like, right, did you study at UCLA? And I was like, no, I just showed up courageously. And life was like, we want her here. And it's one of the things that I love. And so yes, there are things I got certified in, but there are things I didn't. And it's like, no one asks me about that. People just say, this girl has something in her that I want to know what she has in her and how did she get it? And that's enough, right? That's enough. And people who are so into the certifications and this will say that's not enough, but I make really good money. So it's like, apparently it is enough. Apparently it is enough.
I feel like I needed a message you just shared. And I have to also, I say I'm pretty unapologetic, but I haven't shared it in a while. I used to have a lot of insecurities because I, like you, don't have a full certification to teach meditation. I've done these little trainings on my path, but for me, it was, I had a an awakening through this practice and just started taking people to the park and like guiding them through things. And I just wanted to share it. And it evolved from there. I looked for trainings. I wanted to find the right one, but it was just never it. And as I started to just
Yeah.
do it and I would set up meetup groups, people would come and people kept coming. And I was just doing it, right? If you want to be something, it was like just doing it and embodying it. And I, for a while, was like, do I need a certification? Now I'm teaching at a meditation studio, and my people just like you, like my classes are doing really well, and it's just not been in the cards. And more recently, I've done a lot of coaching trainings, and I have quote unquote. The thing about certifications is we can make up a piece of paper that is whatever that that training is. It's just their company making it up in some ways. And
Right.
I've done through specific recent coach trainings where I've been certified to be like their facilitator in that way, but I don't
Mhm.
have a coaching certification through like ICF, although I've done some pretty intensive trainings. And so I was thinking about, for no reason other than I think I should, or maybe that's something that's missing. I have the hours. I should just do the ICF thing. But after you just said, what's the energy behind it? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's actually not a good energy behind it. I'm doing
Yeah.
it out of this should, when I've literally only had one person ever ask me, are you certified? And I'd be very clear, hey, I've done this full training and I believe in this work, and it didn't stop anyone. So I think it's something that I love talking about, because so many people, we have the educational industrial complex to feel like
Yeah.
some other entity needs to give us permission to do something. Now, that's not to say that these trainings are valuable and you learn so much from being absorbed in people. I mean, you are teaching in a training too. It's kind of the
Right.
paradox of
Right.
this. It's kind of the
Right.
paradox of go, if it's calling to you, go do that thing.
Right.
Like you said, right? Follow where love's taking you
Yeah.
to grow in that way. So this is the elusive question, and it is the Awakening to Purpose podcast. And that word purpose can be such a weird word and can get people tripped up. And so I guess the two question part is, how do you think of purpose, and what is your purpose?
Oh, wow. We're just going deep and fast.
I told you, I just want to get right into it. There's no point.
Oh,
No
yes.
point
Okay,
waiting.
let's fly. Let's put the wings on and fly. Okay. Can you ask me the first question again? We'll go one at a time. What
Sure.
is
So
purpose? Is that what you
yeah, what
said?
do you think of purpose? Because it's
What
a
do I
term
think of
that's often
purpose?
thrown around.
All right. What do I think of purpose? I do sense that we all have a purpose. I do sense that we're all here for a reason. That our lives are meant to be a service to the greater whole. And I do believe that purpose is on a spectrum, right? There's no, some people are their storefront is meant to be in front of a lot of people, and their storefront's meant to be with their family, I remember I just shared this with a client yesterday. One of my mentors a long time ago, he's passed away. It was just through books, was Sydney Banks. And he said, you could make more of an impact gardening in a frequency, like I'm talking about your being, your state of being, your frequency, in a state of divinity, whatever flavor that divinity might be in that moment, than preaching to 1,000 people, And so
If you're not in that state.
Yes, if you're not in
Yeah.
that state. Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. 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 If you're not in that state. And I think a lot of us feel, and I know I certainly dealt with this, shame when there's like 2 people that come to your class or whatever it might be. And you're just like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I must be the weeder in the garden. That must be my purpose. No. Anyway, no shame to the weeder in the garden. But I sense it's just what brings you, like what we're talking about, the love within you. So being fueled by the feeling first, the being, the joy, the compassion. And then what inspired action comes from that place. And then one day at 125, people don't like when I use that number. Some do. I do. I would like to live till I was 125. But anyway, you look back and you're like, that thing that got built from that energy of joy that I followed with whatever one simple action step is my purpose, is why I was here. I believe it's ever unfolding, ever changing. I was with this group of incredible shamans yesterday that I'm a part of, and everybody was giving these really beautiful, eloquent labels. And there was one guy that said, he gave his labels and then he was like, but I don't know. And I so resonated with that because I've got my labels and I also have my I don't know. And I feel like I'm living on purpose. So if we can kind of loosen it and just let it be a lifetime of an unfolding following of joy on a spectrum of whatever that may be, and that it's there for every person, that's really cool to me.
I like to think of it like a prayer, like our lives are a prayer, like we are living it each day in service of something that's greater, and there's something that's beautiful in that, and taking that next step, being in a state of being of purpose beyond you think of it like a doing, and what I'm hearing from you is you agree, and it's really not a doing, it's a state of being that kind of directs the next step forward. So that's a really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And can it be a following as opposed to a figuring out? Because I know I fumbled in that of like, oh, I really want this label. I want to know what it is so that I'm enough. As opposed to, can I follow that whisper of divinity within me? And I don't have to know. And it can,
That's powerful. A following and not a figuring. That's something to
mhm.
sit with a little bit. Can it be a
Yeah.
following and not a figuring it out? Because so often it's hard to actually make that distinction. We think that sometimes that maybe people might lose themselves on a rabbit hole of like the internet, thinking that they're following something, but maybe they're actually just trying to figure it out. And
Figuring.
so, yeah, so that's a good one to sit with.
Can I share one more thing?
Of course.
I got this image of like this crazy storm, right? And there's this tree, but it's a really sturdy tree and it's grounded. And then the storm settles and that tree is just still there, always there. So my sense is this purpose is programmed in you. You don't have to worry about losing it. You don't have to worry about missing it. There may be storms. You may get off track. You may try to figure something out. You may let your not enoughness take you on a path, but it's there, and yeah,
Yeah.
you can't
Can't mess this
destroy
up.
it. You can't
Yes.
mess this up, right? It's there, which gives me peace. And it's like, oh, cool. I
Yeah.
have to just listen to the whispers of it's a feeling. To me, it comes in a feeling. It's a lightness, an expansiveness, a joy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't mess this up. And in the mess ups, the failures, that's the most embodied way to learn is through actually messing it up and being like, oh, that's a lesson for me. So
Totally.
okay, backing up, Jamie, you've been in this work now for 10 years from what I
Mhm.
understand, and I'd love to hear if there was a moment, or maybe it was gradual, where how do you define yourself stepping into this work? Was it like you hit a low point in your life, take me to that yeah, that shift that typically happens in people to step into this.
Yeah. I mean, my journey was, I keep using these from twos for some reason, but from desperation to desire. So my journey wasn't always like, wow, this is great. This is my purpose. I was really sick. I used to be an actress when I first moved to LA. Loved it, fun, joyful. Was trying so hard to be seen, didn't realize it, trying to heal out a childhood wound. Life said, can't get what you need in that direction. So everything started to kind of break down, and including my body, just so much nervous system dysregulation and anxiety and unhealed trauma, like we all kind of wake up to, but mine really affected my physical body. And I dealt with that since I was little, just being a sensitive soul in an environment that didn't understand, like, oh, how do we deal with a little psychic child? It's just kind of, it's not really conducive in our world. So it's like, here's medicine that'll fix the psychic. Like what? Um,
Which is so
so
sad. Like I hear stories of kids that just get that just totally compressed and not allowed to be, especially when they're so tapped in at that younger age.
yeah, I mean, that's the next conversation of like, all my clients are so gifted and so beautiful, and they think they're weird and far out there and crazy.
Yeah.
And so I spend 6 months with them to say, you're normal to me, you're gifted, you're here for a reason, you're just sensitive, or whatever it might be. Okay, let me reel myself back in. What do you remember the last thing I was
Yes.
saying
Sorry,
before I
I delved
veered?
you off. So you came as an actress and you having health crisis, your health issues,
Health,
nervous
yes.
system. Yep.
Yes. So at the time, I was trying Western medicine and it wasn't working for me, in the sense that, so I believe in balance now. I think Western's wonderful for acute things, wonderful. Chronic things like I was experiencing, I think it's amazing to say, hey, let me help get a handle on this and then look. And so what life did for me, look deeper, was I don't know. I remember being at a film premiere for something and somebody was like, hey, my Reiki master is speaking tonight. And I was like, what is that? Oh, it's energy healing. And I was like, what is that? And she was like trying to explain it to me. And the weirdest thing happened. I just thought, I need my energy healed. That sounds cool.
Sign me up.
And right. I didn't know what it was. By the way, I was so opposite of what I am today. So like, you're never too far gone. I thought meditation was weird. I thought it was a waste of time. Like I didn't understand. I thought Diet Coke was like the healthiest thing on the planet. Anyway.
We've all been there.
I know. So I went, so anyway, went to this Reiki master and just always had this deep knowing in me. My medicine wasn't going to fix it. It was a band-aid for something deeper. Didn't know what it was. And then just went on this desperate journey to like find some sort of relief from all of my physical ailments, anxiety, hormonal dysregulation. I had chronic Lyme disease. Like I had all the things. And I studied for years and years and years, emotional healing, psychic arts, all the things, coaching, and then I just started to feel better. And it took a long time for me, but I started to feel a little bit better at a time and a little bit better. And then I just became absolutely fascinated with the magic and the mystery and the depth and the possibility that is contained in these incredible alternative healing modalities. So it just became a desire of like, wow, I want to learn as much as I can. And now that my body is healing, I want to use this to actually expand into joy and hold higher frequencies. And, it became like a joyful thing for me.
And so was there like, okay, now I'm done acting and I'm doing this, or was that a
Yeah.
process of letting that go? Like, were you doing both for a while? Maybe you still do both?
Yeah. So no, it was challenging for me. It
Yeah.
was gradual, and I was still auditioning and doing this while I was like subbing at the studio. And I would hold these circles they were called rad attitude circles. It was to turn a bad attitude into a rad attitude. That's what I've heard. I should have that as my website.
I'm cheering though. If
Um,
you can't hear this, you can see me. I love that.
yeah, got the little arm raised cheer. Um, so I was like a little bit at a time, right? Like still I had a foot in both because my identity, it was like, this is why I moved to LA. I'm giving up. I'm a failure, all that shit that like comes into your head. And then I fully released it and left it, and then just embarked in the healing world and started seeing clients here and there and working at the studios and whatever it might have been. Uh, and then it came back a little bit. I was like, okay, wait, am I supposed to do this? And so then I took another class and I just was like, this isn't it. So I feel like that transition, sometimes we go back and forth a little bit. Um, where I stand with acting now, because it's been a long time since I've done acting, a long time, probably 8 years at this point since I've like been in the game of it. I still have a commercial agent, and I'll go out for a handful of auditions a year, and it's just a random joy. I have no attachment to it. I actually booked a commercial last year. And I was like, oh, this is like because I had no attachment to it. All the other people were like nervous, and I was like, I don't want this. Oh, you're going to give it to me. Great. Thanks. Um, and so, yeah, it's just, that's how I transitioned.
I have had a couple of clients who are actors and actresses in different ways. And I personally, are you familiar with the Enneagram?
I've never taken it, but I have heard of it. Yes.
Yeah.
The
So I'm an
test, right?
Enneagram type 3. It's another, there's so many personality typings, human
Okay.
design and Myers-Briggs, all these things, and they're all helpful in different ways. But
Yeah.
I found a lot of value in understanding my Enneagram. And I sometimes feel like there's a part of me that likes being a performer. Right? Look, I have a podcast now that likes being on the stage. So whenever I would
Yeah.
work with an actor, an actress, I would get so excited about that because I think I was like, there's a part of me that felt like I was living vicariously through them. And I don't think that's a good idea for a coach to have that. I think I should, you want to be unattached. Um, I'm curious, do you ever work with in your work now? Because you were in it, like do you work with actors and actors like that, niche in any way?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
And I work with, it's funny too. I work with a lot of studios like NBC and all of this. So it kind of that's probably why I work with some actresses, celebrities, studios. Um, yes, I work with those types of people, but I tend to attract other healers, light workers, sensitive souls who are just like, I don't know how to feel safe being this in the world. Like, can you please help me?
Yeah.
Because again, we don't have Hogwarts school for fifth graders, but that's
Y-
that's our next podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fascinated with like the creative like process, and obviously acting and that world is part of it. And just like getting out of someone's own way for that source to come through. Right. I think what makes great art and acting is an art in
Mm,
that way, where just as you would stand in front of a class, or I would stand in front of a class and allow myself to get out of the way, can I do that in a different container, right? And sometimes that shows up in an acting piece. So it's all fun to like see how people's unique gifts or how source, how God, however you want to name it, can work through these the mediums that it's able to work through to remind people, like when we watch something that's just deeply moving, that's that thing that speaks to us, which is art. Art is beauty.
well, you're really helping me see too. Yes. We're all a channel of divinity, and that can express itself in sadness, that can express itself in joy, it can express itself in a lot of ways. And for me, talking, I'm just kind of getting a message here, like purpose, success, if we can allow ourselves, isn't there like a Saint Anthony or Saint Francis or something prayer, let me be a vessel of your peace.
I say it every
um
day to myself. I'm getting chills.
oh, cool. Yes.
Yeah.
So let me, if I am an actor, if I am whatever I am in this world, whatever my purpose is, may I be a vessel of, may I be an instrument of maybe it's peace for you, but the divinity in the moment, the real true light expressing itself in energy moving through me. And I think that's because then your life's being lived for the whole. Your life isn't like, how can I get this thing so that I can be safe and okay? So I sense that that's a win-win for everybody. But my challenge in that was, oh my gosh, I have to let go of control. and this greater thing is going to come through. But technically I don't think we've had control over that. We just believe we've had control over that. And so
Help us get through the day sometimes, that we have some sense of control on things.
yeah, 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 totally. It's remembering who
So
you really are too, and then you can feel safer letting go of control.
speaking to when we do let go and when
Mhm.
we surrender in that way, and unfold and follow love, and I think you've already spoken to a couple, and I'm sure you're, just based on the language you use, that you open yourself to the synchronicities, right? I'm sure you're familiar with that term, right? The Maybe you name it the magic and the mystery and the coincidences that happen. So I'd love to hear. I love synchronicity stories. Again, I think you have named maybe one already, but what are there any unique stories of synchronicity that stand out for you, maybe when you've left acting to fully step in, like maybe a door opened, or could be anything. I find I always love hearing stories of people's synchronicities.
Yeah. Let me tune in. I have them all the time. And I want to like see what drops in as a
Yeah.
specific cool story.
I'll give you a second to think as I'll
Yeah.
speak a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean,
please.
I even see the synchronicity of you getting a message and then speaking to Saint Francis prayer, which is something I repeat literally at the end of every meditation. I'll really feel into it. I actually have a meditation you can find on YouTube or Insight Timer called the Prayer of Saint
Mm.
Francis. It's actually my most popular YouTube video. Is a
Whoa, okay,
meditation
that's
on the prayer of Saint Francis, where we really slow down and feel, make me an instrument of your peace. Like, where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt,
Mm.
faith. Where there is error, truth. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is darkness, light. O divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we
Mm.
receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
Amen. That's it
Amen.
right there.
Yeah.
And that
So
is a synchronicity. That's crazy. It's happening literally in real time.
in real time.
Here's the
Yeah.
story. Um,
Yeah. Don't
gosh,
force it if it's not coming. We don't have to.
no, I wrote down, I literally wrote down like, cause I was like, I need to keep track of some of my miracles. Well, you're another one. So I'll just share another story. Might
Whoa.
be a simple story. This is miracle hour. Um, okay. I have an ability, and I think I sense all of us have this ability, but because of really learning to tune inside and listen to that deeper voice. So Lou and I are part of a meditation teacher training that's coming up. And so we had only met through a Zoom meeting and not even officially connected, like part of the Zoom meeting knew of each other. So you said something about being an inspirer. It touched my heart, right? And I think a quote unquote normal person might just kind of go through their life and not think too much of that. A person said a thing in a business meeting. Okay. But I'm so tuned into the little subtleties inside of me, which is where I think the synchronicities come from. Um, and I just kept hearing in my head, reach out to him and talk to him about what he said. And then I went, no, that's weird. This person doesn't know me. He's going to think I'm like too friendly or, whatever. So then it was like the next day, reach out to Lou, ask him about this word inspiration that he said. Well, what the hell is that? That isn't even a real conversation. You haven't even had right? But I know now that's the whisper. That's the love I'm speaking of. It's quiet. It's simple. It's expansive. So I reached out to Lou. Hey, Lou, nice to meet you. Could you elaborate on what you said? It really touched my heart. So sharing this with Lou, then Lou says, we talk a little more. I would love to have you on this podcast. Right. And I love manifesting. I love creating. I don't know, 2 weeks before, I was like, I would love to be on more podcasts. It's just fun to have conversations. Just would be a blast. So me putting intentions out there, being in my desire, what would I love to create? And then I'm in my life and the universe through me is going, reach out to this guy. It's safe. He's going to be friendly back. It's going to turn into something. But we so get in our own way and block the magic, block the synchronicities, block it because we're like, afraid. But for me, it's that divinity is benevolent. Those little whispers you hear are always safe. So that's the one that came to me. You're part of one of now
So
two
beautiful.
synchronicities.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. And what's
Yeah.
even more potent about that story is that you caught inspiration and an inspirer, because I forget how I was using it, but I'm not sure if I was using it as like myself in that way, but that's been my one word. And I know it's a very
Mm.
broad word, but my guiding North Star has been inspire for this entire journey. So it's just super interesting how like
Wow.
that word was kind of the catalyst in some ways for you. And the way that you're
Mhm.
describing the subtlety and being tapped in reminds me of a Carl Jung quote that says, "Synchronicity is ever present for those who have eyes to see it." And I might add, for those who have the bodies to feel it. Right? As we continue to do our own healing work or growth work, or just meditating and just getting more clear with our own energy, that yeah, these things happen at a different rate, and it might even be subtle. They happen more just like in this conversation, or sometimes it's those
Yeah.
big things where you're like, oh my gosh, I've had the first meditation studio I taught at was during a time in my life where I was feeling really desperate and still figuring my way, like not really making a full-time living, but I've been doing it for 3 years. And so I was at a studio, I
Right.
was at a coffee shop, and literally the person in front of me, they're on a computer, a group of 3 women, and on the computer is like meditation cushions. Like, I'm like, that's interesting. And I go over to them and was like, "It looks like you're like looking at a meditation website. Like, is this what's happening here?" And she's like, "Oh, we're opening up a meditation studio really right next door." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Really? I teach this stuff." I gave her my card, and it's this beautiful studio. COVID took it out, but was like such a catalyst for me to have a weekly class. And that class became, okay, I have this class that I taught. Well, now let me create content for Insight Timer, and let me
Yeah.
ship each week, and let me start creating content for the world. And that grew that thing. And so just being in that coffee shop, like seeing that, like it was, yeah. So thank you, Great Mystery, for the ways that are
Yeah.
always guiding us somewhere. Um,
That's so beautiful. I love that story. And I think too, if we open our eyes to, I mean, I'm using the word magic because it touches my heart, but like if
yeah.
we open our eyes to magic is real, like it's the simplicity of, and we're all connected, right? We can kind of open up to more of that.
Would you
I'm
say that
wondering,
that's oh, no,
okay.
ask me, please.
Well, I don't know if you can say, we can talk about it later, but I'm wondering if we taught at the same meditation studio.
Mine was in New Jersey.
Oh, yours was, I keep thinking you're in LA. What the heck? Because mine, the one I taught at, was near a coffee shop. And I was like,
Oh,
did we end up in the same? Anyway.
no, it was in New Jersey. It was modeled after heavily after Mindful in New York City. It was kind of like the New Jersey's version of
Mm,
Mindful. Beautiful. So, yeah, so grateful for that experience. Um so you talk about, I mentioned prayer before, but I heard you speaking about prayer, and I think it lines
yeah.
to what we're just talking about. How do you think about how do you think about praying, and yeah, let me just maybe ask it like that. Like, how do you use
Yeah.
prayer, and how might you recommend someone pray?
Prayer is super sacred to me. It's been part of my heart and journey for a long time. When I say prayer, I always follow it with intention. And it's um what my heart desires from a place of worthiness and wholeness. So I don't ascribe, is that the right word? Ascribe? Subscribe
It is
to
for us
the,
today.
I'm going to make up words because I
It's
feel like it.
it's yes.
Please help me have correct words. I don't ascribe to that there's something external from me and I have to be worthy and deserving enough to receive something. My sense is that I have that God energy, that divinity within me, as we all do. And when we pray, when we proclaim, when we have a devotion, it almost parts the seas for the trauma and the pain. It's like the word devotion is coming to me with prayer. It's like, okay, this is important to me. And from proclaiming this thing or saying this thing, I'm allowing the support within me or within others or the quantum field of other people, or life to come in to serve me to align with my desire. I don't know fully how it works. I just know that when I say, there's actually, so Aaron Abke, do you know who he is? He's another healer. He's really, I
No.
love how he prays. So I'm going to share, this is, and I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but he's a teacher of Course in Miracles. And I used to love Course in Miracles, still do. May I be a demonstration of whatever it is you're praying for as a worship to the divine. So because I love God, because I love life, because I love my soul, may I be a demonstration of physical healing, financial abundance, my purpose, fill in the blank, being in a soulmate relationship, because it is an act of worship to the divine to be that. That eradicates guilt. We're so afraid that, what is that Australian tall poppy syndrome of like shining and being too much. And you're like, well, no, if this body is a demonstration of a possibility because I love God, because it's an act of worship to the divine, I'm just owning my true nature, And so praying from that place of power, I always see brings it in, letting go of attachment to how long it might take and to the way it might come. And realizing too, that it's a co-creative effort with the divine. It's not like, because where am I praying from? Like we were talking in the beginning, my purpose, steps for my purpose. Am I praying from fear? Am I praying from I am whole and I am loved and I am just with this prayer aligning myself with my desire,
Can I put you on the spot?
Please.
Because as you were speaking, I was really actually feeling myself drop in, and it was beautiful. And so I'd be curious if you might lead us in a prayer. Kind of did in a way, but for anyone listening, if you have the space to just drop into your own experience and allow Jamie's words to be the words for us, almost a communal prayer. But I'm getting a feeling that might be nice, or at least maybe I just want to feel more of you sharing the prayer and dropping back into my experience.
Yes, happy to. Okay. And if you're driving, don't do this, just keep driving. But if you're home and in your own space, you can put your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath and know you are loved. Okay. So holding this collective energy and collective intention that anyone who is tuning in right now or could serve from just feeling the energy of this podcast, may I embody my purpose. May I let go of choosing from fear when it comes to my purpose, and may I be plugged into love and hear its whispers. May I embody my being first, filling up the gas in my car. May I feel safe in my joy or in my peace or in my silliness or in my quiet or in my pain. There we go. May I be connected to the whole and know it. May I allow ease and flow with my purpose. May I release any blocks or fears in the way of me shining and lighting the way. And may I let go of shining needing to mean big or famous, just filling up the space of my own soul and why I am here. May my purpose be a demonstration of God in my body. And may my life be an act of worship to the divine. And may I know that that is natural and normal. May I embody a high frequency unapologetically as a sigh of relief to planet Earth in safe and easy ways. May I remember that magic is real. And so it is.
So it is. So beautiful. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So powerful. That's why I do. That's why I'm doing this podcast. So, I have an idea where to take it from here, but I'm curious if you have an idea of where you might want to take it from here.
I'm tuning in. Let's see. Oh, I'd like to know your idea, and it might spark my idea.
Okay.
And I also thought of another synchronicity, but go ahead.
Maybe get to that. So
For later.
There was something that I heard you say. There's a few things that I definitely want to touch on, but one thing that I thought was important was don't shame, don't blame, don't attack, don't defend. And I think I remember it was in the realm of maybe getting triggered or stirred up by an emotion. And so I think I'd love for you to just speak to these four, because I think they're easy to remember. And they're also a contemplation for which ones do we fall into most, right? When we're triggered or something, do we typically blame, or do we shame others or shame ourselves? So yeah, I'd love for you to just expand on those a little bit.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. Don't shame, don't blame, don't attack, don't defend. So what I share that in context to is revealing the truth of your heart. So we're not given these communication skills, well, most of us on planet Earth, of how to communicate the truth of our heart vulnerably without doing one of those four things. Usually we're hurt and we're like, you did this. It's really wrong that you did this, or we attack. It's having compassion and knowing our innocence for our pain, our protector parts that are coming out that way. But what does it look like to reveal the truth of our heart? Okay. When you said, I'll just give a random example. When you said you're a crybaby, when I was crying, that broke my heart. Ow. Ugh. So you can make sounds, you can gesture, you can say, and that way you're in the truth of the moment. But most of us, that level of vulnerability, people are going to think I'm crazy. People are going to think I'm weird. We don't, in my family, show our hearts like that. I mean, I certainly didn't have those skills and didn't show my heart like that. But it's one of the most courageous acts. But if you can start to practice saying, when this external thing happened, it made me feel, or showing how it made you feel, that is love, because the other person, when they don't feel blamed, shamed, attacked, can show up more present and actually give you what you need in that moment. Not all the time, because your old protective parts are there. But for me, I have seen, talk about miracles and magic, showing up. Like I actually have an example of I don't know, maybe this was 2 months ago. I was with my boyfriend on the couch and we were on opposite ends of the couch and I was pissed. And I'm on the other side of the couch. And I was like my insides were I'm not getting enough attention. He's been ignoring me all day and I'm not going to go over there and touch him or cuddle next to him for this movie. I was just didn't want to be near him. And then I caught myself. all my childhood fears, fear of conflict, right? It's like, oh, if I say, what if he blows up? What if he gets pissed? I don't want to deal with that tonight. Ugh. And I thought, no, we got to be courageous. We got to reveal the truth of our heart. That's the only way through, child. So and it's inconvenient, right? Because we just want to put the show on. We don't want to deal with that. So I said, hey, I didn't blame, shame, attack, or defend. And I said, hey, I'm feeling like really sad and alone right now when there's a distance between us. And when, I don't remember exactly what I said, but when you haven't been present with me for maybe like 5 minutes today, I don't require a lot, but when we haven't been present and I can feel you and your soul in your body for 5 minutes, and it's making me angry and sad. And I was received. There was no conflict. There was no pushback. There was, oh, Bug, I'm sorry. Come here. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And then I start crying because I'm like, well, I felt so alone. I was going to sit over here and be angry, and I didn't want to come over here. And, and it was beautiful. And I'll tell you, that little act of courage, gosh, I think there's a movie, I think it's called The Zoo, with Scarlett Johansson. And there's a quote in there where he says, like, 10 seconds of courage, right? If you can muster that little bit of courage to ride you through, then you've got it. Because what's on the other side of that, when I didn't attack, blame, defend, shame, which I wanted to do, tenderness came, love came, healing came, acceptance came. And that is a high level of responsibility, but one that bears fruit. And for me, I used to think I was going to die. I was like, people will abandon me if I show them that side of myself. And what I have found is that no, it brings you, yes, it ruffles some feathers and it's awkward and messy and sloppy sometimes because people they're not used to you being that way. But it has brought a level of intimacy and closeness and love I didn't think was possible when I learned, practice, not blaming, shaming, attacking, defending. Am I perfect at it all the time? Absolutely not, but the times where I see it and move it forward, it bears great fruit.
I've resonate so much with not saying the thing because let's go to bed. It'll
Yeah.
wipe itself.
Yeah.
It'll be over in the morning or whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you have any other, because what I'm hearing is now bringing this consciousness into your significant relationship, and I'm curious how else your significant relationship, and I ask this selfishly, how else has it been a source of healing or growth or edges? This might seem like a broad question, but as someone in a very long committed partnership and getting married soon, I'd love to, I think it's an important topic that I'm super lucky. We get along so great, and we always have, and we rarely ever fight, and we rarely ever have conflict. But whenever there is that conflict and there is an expression of it and a resolution of it, we're closer for it. Right. So there's like the part where we can be really goofy and playful with each other all the time, but that sometimes that actually can move, I'll speak for myself, can move us away where a conflict actually might bring us closer together. So I guess the question is, anything on your relationship or being in a conscious relationship that you've learned that might be helpful for someone in their relationship?
God, I've learned so, and we've been together over 8 years, so I understand the long term and the messy, sloppy, changing, growing.
Now, question on that, because I'm in a 10-year relationship. You guys aren't married either.
Mm-mm.
Okay, great. I'm always curious at other long-term relationships that are not married, and we don't have to go into that story. Maybe we can talk about it offline. But it's because it's like there's like this. I feel personally like this. There's like, what's going on? It's unfolding perfectly, and we have this. It's unfolding perfectly, but there's a lot of judgment in that way. So maybe we could talk about that offline if you want. I'll get you back to your relationship. Letting us share on what you've learned.
Well, a lot of it, I mean, it's pertinent too, because a lot of what I'm talking about, it's like, well, that's not normal. We don't talk that way in
Mm,
relationships. And so I think we're just breaking societal molds of like, this is the amount of time you get married. This is when you get married. This is like, it's all made up,
right.
you know? And so do I want to get married from that place of love? Or is love saying, this is enough for right now, and this is okay, and this is what we're doing? And um, I've been on so LA just does things differently, right? And so it's nice. I can always use LA as an excuse. I'm like, I'm on the slow path in LA. Like, you know, we have kids when we're 42. We get married after 13 years, like if we want, whatever. So that's where I'm at. But and that's okay. It's like what makes you happy, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so gosh, there's so much I've learned here. Let me see what kind of comes to me. There was something earlier when you were talking. So, well, there's so many layers. I'll just share one of the ones that's coming. So, we're in an intimacy group that we just started like 4 months ago. Cause I'm always like, ooh, let's do this thing. And so lovingly, he was like, okay, even though it was like sitting across from each other for 3 hours, staring into each other's eyes, being the most vulnerable. So all your stuff comes up, your rage comes up, and your absolute bliss and love and joy comes up too. And I think one of the most healing things has been, especially as a feminine being who feels a lot, um, when I'm in these intimacy things, we do um, I guess it's called a technique called I see, I feel. And the feminine being says, I feel, and you don't plan it. It's like what you feel in this moment. And then the masculine being says, I see. And one of the most healing things from this practice has been for me, oh my God, I'm going to sit here and say to you, I feel angry. And then my head saying, he's going to think, she's angry again. Or I feel not enough. Oh, she still feels not enough. Oh, I feel so sad or heartbroken or in so much pain emotionally. And it's the wildest thing that when I express that in its fullness, unapologetically owning, not owning it as this is who I am, but owning it as I am deep in this experience in this moment, he always comes back to me with, and I can feel the sincerity in it. I see an angel. I see, and he's not planning it, it's what's in the moment. I see a woman filled with potential and possibility, you know? And so or like in the tenderness of my pain, he'll say, I see a little girl who needs reassurance. It is never met with you're too much. It is never met with shame. And that, I mean, I invite people into this practice. You know, it's an intense practice, even for me, who's been doing this healing work for 10 years. But to know that that is lovable is like one of the greatest gifts. Like, I don't, you know, you can speak to a man, but for women, um, we're not really like, we feel big, but then we're told that's crazy or hysterical or too much, or we have to like be the, like, you know, I'm the cool girl. I'm easy. I'm easy. I'm easy.
Mm,
And it's like, I'm not dramatic. I am very aware of my stuff, but I feel it to the depths of my being. And to the other sensitive souls who also feel like the pain of Mother Earth or how deeply they love a parent that couldn't love them or whatever it is, um, to know that that's allowed. And it's the most beautiful thing to a masculine being. It's like, what a gift. But it's the courage to say, I'm gonna, and that's the container of blame, shame, attack, defend. There's no blaming, shaming, attacking, or defending in that. When I just say, hey, this is what's here. And my deepest fear is you're gonna think I'm whatever you're gonna think I am, and I'm gonna be rejected. It's never met with that.
thank you so much for expanding on that. And yeah, I feel like I've done some smaller exercises of that, but I think that's a really powerful one and sounds like it could open some stuff up. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's wild. And the couple that leads, it's like, this is your Friday date night. So make it what you want. And I'm like, this isn't always enjoyable. Like, this is
Yeah.
excruciating Friday date night, but
Yeah, maybe get some dessert afterwards, make it a little bit more
hmm
relaxing.
hmm
Some ice cream. Um, you talk a lot about self-love in your work,
Yes.
and I'm curious why it's such an important topic for you.
Mm, huge. Self-love, and I'll elaborate and say self-honoring, because to me, it's the energetic medicine that can carry you through and allow you to be fully expanded into your purpose, into your passion, into my word, authentic truth, like the truth of who you are. Um, if our parents gave us, ideally, no blaming here, it's all innocent, but if they gave us that love that we needed, then we would know to give that to ourselves. It's just natural when you grow up and you move away from the pack, you'd naturally advocate for yourself, believe in yourself, whatever it might be, which allows you to live a fully functioning, healthy, happy life. So if you didn't get that, right, then there's a learning curve and a process to say, hey, this is something I have to learn, to honor myself, to care for myself, to advocate for myself, to get to know my boundaries, my limitations, and my this and my that. So to me, if we don't have that inner cheerleader, that inner parent, that inner, this is what I need for my highest good right now, we can't expand into our full magnificence. I think self-love there's so much there, right? And I think there's so many flavors to it. Um, but to me, I mean, I guess one way is like, what do I need in this moment to be able to show up fully expanded in my being, happy, I don't think it's always the easiest choice, but I grew up I had a lot of anxiety. I never felt safe. And self-love has actually given me the ability to feel safe. I was like, oh, I've been looking for me, because when I set that boundary, or I do the self-care I need, or I move forward towards my purpose, even though I'm scared, somebody's got my back and it's me. And I can't find that anywhere else. And yes, people will love you, but they're kind of the fillers. You're the, hey, I'm your savior, queen, king. Like, this is all we got. Um, and so to me, it's one of the most important things to learn, to understand, um, and to open up to.
Can you say that question again? Like, what do I need in this moment? What was the other part
Yeah,
to
what
that?
do I need in this? I can't remember exactly what I said, but what do I need in this moment to be able to expand into my full magnificence?
Yeah, that's such a different way to think of self-love. Like,
Yeah.
when I think of self-love, it's, being kind to myself, being
hmm
loving to myself, being forgiving. But to ask that question and see it as an act of self-love and self-honoring, to let yourself expand into that, it kind of, in some ways, in my mind, flips it or offers another path into it that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of, which I really appreciate.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And even when I said too, whatever I need for my highest good in this moment,
Yes.
like, to me, that's also self-love. It's like it's so interesting when you live something and it's not as apparent to you, I guess, and then people are reflecting it back to you, because whenever I'm on my cycle, I in the past experienced like really challenging periods, and I know many women do, and that's something many women are in the closet about, and they just tough it up and move through. But my first day was always like, I don't like, I'm resting. I don't feel like talking to people. I have pain. And so if you're friends with me, and so now I've kept that because my pain's so much better, but I still get tired for a day, which is natural for your body. And so the day before, if I have a plan with a friend that day, I say, hey, I'm giving you a heads up. I might have to let you know in the morning if I have pain or if I need to rest. If that negatively affects you and you want to plan for like next weekend, like let me know, but this is what I got to do. I can't tell you the amount of friends that say to me, I like, thank you for honoring yourself that much, because it wouldn't have even occurred to me to say I have my period, I need to cancel. They just go through and plow through. And so, yeah, just because I'm like, really? Like, no, like you got to rest, queen, like some Netflix and some like, whatever during that time. But it's like, no one's gonna show up for me and say you can rest. Like, who are we looking for permission from? It's you. And it's like, again, then what are we afraid of loving ourselves will mean? They'll abandon me, they'll reject me, they'll judge me. Well, what I've seen is ultimately at the end of the day, it's you who you're looking for to not judge, abandon, or reject you. And when you say, I'm here for your needs, I'm here to welcome all of you, then life aligns according. And if people have a hissy fit about it, then that's not in alignment with love anyway. So it's kind of like a cleaning system, right?
It's another example of you being a permission giver in a world that I think needs more people to be permission givers. Because when we see that, obviously I can't speak to that example personally, but whatever
Right.
example it might be, where it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you could do that. Right. Oh, there's an
Mhm.
example of someone, and people, even in people saying no to things that like it's so hard to sometimes say no to things. But sometimes when people say no and say, hey, no, this is what I do, I don't book things from this time to this time, and it's not you, and it almost gives that person permission of like, oh, how can I look at my own boundaries in my life? So I think
Yeah.
we need, in so many ways, this idea of going first is such a
Yes.
catalyst for connection and opening and permission. And so, yeah, what a gift in just leaning into that discomfort. And sometimes it's so subtle too. Like it might not be the most scary thing, but it's something that's not as common and needed. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great example.
Yeah. And I think like if anybody's kind of contemplating this, I always say too, like, what is your worst fear about it? Um, if I love myself, if I cancel plans that one day a month, or I plan my traveling around it, or whatever it is that we're loving ourselves through, what am I afraid is going to happen? And yes, there's more work to be done around it, but if we can release resistance to say, all right, bring it on. Like worst case scenario, I'm okay if they reject me or if they judge me, because we weren't as an adult. As a child, it meant in our brain survival, I might die. But as an
Mm.
adult, we have the skills, we can cultivate the skills, we can find the support to be okay, to be alive. If someone judges us and says, this girl's a queen, she takes off for a period, like whatever. Okay, yes, I am. Whatever. I have an incredible, like I have examples in my life, but two of my coaches way long ago, my coaches, she had a chronic illness for like years and years and years and years and years. And she realized she was resisting her worst fear. And so she was afraid she would be left behind. Was like, if I honor myself and love myself, I'm going to be left behind. That was her thing. Do you know when she made the decision in her head, which is why I'm asking you, like, what's your worst fear? Can you say, bring it on? Because first of all, that's not going to happen. Sounds kind of weird, but her body finally healed because she said she was so afraid she would be abandoned and left behind. And she said, okay, like, let me just be myself and love myself and live my purpose and live my authentic truth and be weird and be left behind. And then her cells weren't in resistance and trying to protect her anymore. And then she was free. And so we think, well, God, if I do that, I'm not going to be free, but freedom lives there. So
Yeah.
whatever you're afraid of, could you welcome it instead of resist it, and see if that opens some more space in your world?
feel like I'm getting a coaching session here multiple times because this is a little vulnerable for me to share, but this is what we're about. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm in a period of I haven't had a new client for the longest time since I've ever had a shingle that I do coaching, and a lot
Mm,
of um, both not coming in and things falling through, and I'm find myself triggered. I find myself desperate in some ways, like noticing not desperation. It's not even that I'm desperation. I'm actually like angry, and I'm realizing
mhm,
I'm losing. Feels like I'm losing validation, like I'm going
mm.
backwards, or I'm like, and so I'm noticing. And so as you say that example, like I'm like, oh yeah, I'm having this resistance to making a meaning over what's happening, like is something going wrong, and it's been
Yeah.
really interesting. So thanks for just giving me another nod to like find acceptance and allowance in that process. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so, I mean, I've had that every time I switch what I'm doing. So it's like the universe says, okay, so the purpose wiggling and changing, right? And it's
Mm,
like, okay, I get a little bit more clear on what is in alignment with my heart. Then I change my offerings in alignment with that. There was a period a couple years ago. I keep using the word period. There was a
it's a
time,
theme.
keeping it real. There was a time frame, maybe it was 2.5 years ago. So the 6 months before that, I changed my offerings and I was so excited because I could feel the whisper of my purpose. I was like, this is it. I did not have a client come in for 6 months. And I was like, I know I'm good at what I do. What the hell is happening
Mm,
here? And I had to, I had to not go backwards. I had to hold on my prices. They were higher than I've ever charged. And I was like, okay, maybe it's my prices. Maybe it's this. And I went, no, queen, you hold, you just wait, you do the work. And then, the universe caught up to me in my frequency and I let go of timing it. And it came in and it shifted. And now I have an abundant one-on-one. But there was a time I was experiencing the same thing. So I think too, when we up level, it's like the old people that were attracted to us leave. And if we can go, that there's nothing wrong with me in that. It's just I'm literally upgrading to a new level of people. And so we're kind of finding our way to each other and hold my coach always says hold the pose, but hold the pose in that new frequency without timing it, they come.
yeah. uh, I needed this today because, and I hope this is valuable. It might be valuable for anyone, obviously, that's doing this type of work to hear these conversations.
Right.
And for those that don't, it's just a lens into the world. But out of guilt that I realize, actually, this is all, I don't want this to turn into a, a real coaching session, but I recognize I ended up lowering my prices again out of some weird guilt. And I'm feeling why things are not falling through. And I recognized this yesterday. I was like, dude, you did that out of guilt. Like, of course, that's not a good
Mm,
energy to be in. So really the energy behind things is so important. And yeah, I'm taking that in, and I'm gonna be reflecting on how to renegotiate my own kind of what I know is valuable. Um, so thanks for that, Jamie.
course. Course. I think
Yeah,
it's pertinent to any purpose or career too. It's just
yeah.
like the letting go of the divine timing as an energy healer. One of the things that I do. I've always learned too that the physical is just a different frequency than the energetic. So sometimes we can have this quantum shift internally, energetically for whatever it is we're doing in our life. And then we're like, well, where are the clients? Where's the this or whatever job that you're doing? Where's the interview?
Mm,
And then we get in our own way and then the energy, the vibration goes down again. But it's like, if we can just know, hold in the lightness of the internal truth and let the external catch up whenever the external catches up. That doesn't mean don't take inspired action again if that's coming in,
yeah.
but it's just like let me loosen my grip on how long this takes, no matter your career or purpose. So I think it's relevant.
So Jamie, you seem like someone connected to your inner child, and you've spoken about stuff happening in childhood, and I think I saw that you wrote a children's book. So do you still write? Do you still write children's books? Is that something you still work with? Do you work with children? And yeah.
Yes. So I was a journalism major in college. So it all kind of like, isn't it interesting how your life, it's like, okay, the writer came in there, the actress, clearly you could see him. Like I
Yeah.
love also being and talking and sharing. Um, I did write a children's book. I've actually written a book, an adult book that I've had twice edited by an incredible editor from Hay House, which is so beautiful. So it's in process. There are meetings, there's things. It's
Amazing. I
part
was
of
gonna say I didn't see this
manif-
out there. I messed up my
no,
research.
no, it's in process of being out in the world,
Heck
which
yeah.
is exciting. Yes. So, I don't particularly work with children. I have worked with children. My area of expertise is adults, right, that are transitioning into following their own heart and their own authentic truth. Um, yeah, I love to write. I love to share in writing and posts. I had started a blog a long time ago. But yeah, I hope to. My book's called Set Free Your Longing Heart. And it
Yep.
really
Talk
is
about it. I
about
want to hear more about it. Yeah.
um, well, I mean, it's my journey, right? It's a journey
Yeah.
from and others who are on that journey of like codependent, people pleasing, closed, hardened, hidden, all the things that we do with our heart, our truth, and how to go on that journey to just tune in, hear your heart, the subtleties we were speaking about, and opening back up again to, well, first of all, why we shut our heart in the first place, which mine was I never felt like I was enough, to just opening up to when I open, my being is enough. Um, my gifts are enough. My purpose is enough in the world. And so I take you on that journey. Each chapter is the first half of the book is called healing. The second half is expansion. So we go on a healing tools journey of like, okay, how do we get in touch with the trauma that closed us and slowly release that energy? And then the second half's expansion of, okay, how do I pray, intend,
Mm.
manifest, create, and align with, my heart's longings and desires? Because for me, like as I'm speaking, I'm going, this book is a compass. We're so passed down. We just have this stuff passed down and we're living in like the collective energy and the energy of our trauma and our ancestors. And it's like, well, who am I? Can I like, where's my anchor? What, and it's that, and I have a chapter in there about intuition and about that little voice and how do I anchor into my truth and follow that love? And what is that? And um, from that place, for me, at least, I've seen financial abundance comes, relationship healing comes, friendship comes, joy comes. Like it's everything. So that's a little preview. I
So
would love to
exciting.
give it
Do you
wings.
have a date out, or is it still in the process?
No, it's still in the process. It's still in the
Yeah.
process. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the book is completely finished. It's just in the process of finding the right publisher to bring it out
Yeah.
into the world.
Yeah. Well, good luck. It's a wild west world in the publishing world, so I'm excited
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait for it to be out for you, and I'd love to can't wait
Thank
to read
you.
it when it's out.
Cool.
Speaking of books, what are the books? Who are the teachers? You mentioned Course in Miracles, which have and went through and been important for me at times. It's been a while since I've went through it.
Yeah.
Any other books or teachers that have been influential to you that stick out that might be
You know,
helpful?
I used to devour books before I had a sense of my anchor, right? I don't
Mm,
as much anymore.
yeah,
Um, but what I've read recently was Regina Thomas Hour. I don't know if you know her.
I don't.
She identifies herself as outrageous. I don't know if I can say the title of one of her books, but the other
This
book
is
I'm
not
reading.
there's no filter
It's
here.
a little wild.
Let's hear
I'll
it.
tell well, her book is called Pussy.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, I was like, can I say
You
that?
can
I'm
totally
not
say pussy
sure.
here.
Okay, good. Her other book is called School of Womanly Arts. And then Catherine Woodward Thomas, she actually wrote a book called The One, but I think she's wonderful for couples in relationships as well, because going through her work, you can really realign whatever is going on in your own relationship, whether you're single or you're in a couple. So her work I really like. My own coaches, I've been with them for a couple years, so it's not a book, but just their teachings. Their what is that? Primal Happiness. They're in the UK. They're incredible. I've read, Michael Singer's Untethered Soul, Rumi's poetry, Michael Neal. He was also a big influence of mine in the past. Really, though, I've immersed myself in masculine and feminine energy teachings the last couple years. I'm fascinated by those archetypes and when we embody that, what it can do for us and our healing and all of these things. But yeah, I know I haven't Eckhart Tolle. He's great. Read all
Yeah,
his
no,
books.
there's no, I think it's important because some people, this maybe is more of a bro term to come at it a different way, but some people call reading mental masturbation, of that we're just kind of, you can get lost in reading,
Yeah.
reading and reading and not really digesting or not really letting your life kind of the learning in that way, right? So there's some people that just go to self-development conferences and there's the excitement in doing all that stuff, but at
Yeah.
the end it comes down to it is what you're living. So books are helpful, but they're definitely taking some time off. I think I read probably the least amount I did last year. I've been reading a
Yeah.
little bit more this year, and it's I love this term. I forgot where I heard it recently, but what's better, the in-breath or the out-breath? And obviously
Mm,
they're both necessary. So we are in this world of
mhm.
expansion and contraction, and we can kind of allow for the cycles of our life to be what they are without judging them in any way, and just kind of let ourselves breathe through the world in that way.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And it's just coming in. It's like our theme in this conversation too of what's the energy behind the desire to read the book? Am I am
Mm.
I am I reading these hundreds of books? Actually, this year I went through a grieving process. I was sobbing. I went through all of my books and I sat there and I sobbed because they were everything in my last 10 years. They were my friend. They were my comfort. They were my teachers. They were the other light worker weirdos in the world that I knew I wasn't alone. They were everything, but I also knew we got to let these training wheels go. We have to share them with someone else and really start fresh with, okay, if there is something that comes into my life, which energy is it from? And can I use it as supplemental now and not just, you know, um, in replacement of my own authentic truth? So, yeah.
So what's exciting you now? Like, what are you working on? Maybe what do you want to tell people about?
Yeah. Gosh. So many things are exciting me now. I had a really cool conversation with a friend. We always get together relatively in the beginning of the year. We did it in January, so that's still good to set our intentions for the year, have that living prayer for the year, hold space for each other. And we really were talking about expressing creative energy. And that excited me because this was what wrapping it around to what we are talking about in the beginning. That isn't as seen as like, wow, this is amazing. This is respected. It's not this like monetary accomplishment, but it's non-transactional feminine energy. And it's raising the vibration of the planet by your sheer act of doing it or enjoying it. So I have always been happy. I hang out with friends, I hike, I do all this stuff. But I realized I'm like, wow, like letting more of your being just be present in. I really want to, there's a guy um who helps you write and produce a song and you coach with him for a month. And I'm like, I want to do that this year. And then there's a girl that does like a whole body paint thing and you do a photo shoot at the end because she paints your soul on your body. And I'm like, I want to do that this year because I'm finally at a place where my being is enough, right? And this purpose of like, oh, she's not at her computer doing something, she's getting body paint, that I choose like, I hope to be respected for my peace, my joy, my creativity, whatever it may be. So and yes, that still even feels edgy as I say it out loud. It's like those wounded parts that are like, is everything going to fall apart? But what I've seen in my life is like, no, because it raises your frequency. So more clients come in, more abundance comes in. Like it's an abundance code when you're on your purpose to weave in. This is the self-love coming back in, to weave in joy, to weave in creativity. So I, on my own path, am wanting to embody even more creative experiences of like deep soul nourishment. So I can be an example of that for other people to say, hey, yeah, there's suffering down here, but maybe it's safe to embody fun and we don't have to put this in the closet and pretend like we're not doing it. And, that just weaves itself into like retreats, and we're planning a retreat in Costa Rica this year, which should be fun. And my continuous just holding courses and, working with clients, but just really bringing more joy in.
I need that again, because for me, it's like, I think of January and it's been a great month, and
Yeah.
the year started off great, but it's been a lot of me being at this desk for most of the time, and days really going really fast because of that. It's like one day just kind of bleeds into the other, and you look back and it's like, oh, that's been a week. And I think doing things, like you said, doing things that really fill you with joy, they kind of expand time in a way, and nourish in a way that's, for me, a very type A achiever, Enneagram 3. It needs that balance. And I'll always say, yeah, I need to do that. But when it comes to actually taking that time and doing something different, when I don't, it's the double edge of, I am so fortunate and blessed that I can live a life where I can do those things whenever I want, and I don't. So thanks again for the inspiration on the nudge on those things, because you're so right. 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Like, we never know when doing something else that's calling to our heart is actually exactly what we needed to do for the fulfillment of the thing that we thought we should just, go on a computer for 10 hours. And that's the way that we were going to solve it. But such a needed message.
Yeah. It's you look, it's not always easy for me. It happened to me this week where I am learning about content, like how to write in a way that people can see, and, marketing and all this stuff, and all these videos. And I had some time in the morning before clients, and I was like, all right, I need to do this. I was about to pour a little bit more coffee and blah. And that little voice was like, you got to put this down, and you got to go do something that like makes your heart sing. Cause I knew it would be there. I knew I had time in the week at some point, or not, next week, whatever. There's no rush. And so I took my dog and I went to this local hike called Runyon Canyon that I absolutely love. And I was just blissed out. I was like, he was running. I was getting joy from him playing in the wilderness and saying hi to everybody. And the sun was shining on my face. And I was like, this is what you needed. This is the gasoline in the car. And then that week I ended up like getting 2 new clients, right? And then a potential client interview. And I think that's the secret. That's the hack. It's like, we think yes, hard work can get us things. We're not denying that. But this balance of masculine, feminine energy, where it's like filling my being with joy, also pulls in and magnetizes things to you, and so it's the most terrifying experiment in the world. And I'm in it all day, every day, because I'm going, well, this is my message. Your being is enough. Your being attracts things to you. But hey, if you want to use my life as an example, so far I've seen that when I do that stuff, just because it's frequency based, it's like, okay, abundant, beautiful experiences match abundant, beautiful experiences. So just as it's important to do the practice, yes, I'm a business owner, I do practical things, and I'm on my computer and I'm seeing clients, but it's just as a priority and valuable to me to also find things that make my heart sing, because I know that that's going to bring in money just as much as me taking these courses that I'm taking.
Amen. Hallelujah. Praise
Amen.
be.
Hallelujah.
So it is. Jamie, thank you for taking the time. Where can people find you and explore more of your work?
Cool. They can find me at Runyon Canyon. No, just kidding.
Tuesdays.
I'll have birds on my shoulder and I'll be singing songs. That's pretty accurate. But my website's my name. It's jamiewozny.com. All my information's on there. And my Instagram is at Jamie Wozny, JamieWozny. And I have a link in there to courses. And I, like you, I'm on Insight Timer. I only go live once a month, and then I have courses and classes on there, but I love that live interaction and community. So there's always ways to connect with me if you check out one of those two places.
Beautiful. Go check out Jamie's stuff. Go check out her courses or coaching. I might be a new client after this. Who knows? We'll see. So thank you, Jamie, for showing up and being on the show. It was a pleasure and a gift, and your energy is for sure felt, and I hope is being felt by anyone receiving these messages.
Thanks, Lou. This was awesome. I appreciate it. And just sending everyone here that's listening lots of love.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.